Hey, great day, Rogue News fans. This is Carlos, aka CJ. Hopefully, everyone's having a great Thanksgiving so far. Lots of information to go over. I'm going to try to do it briefly so my wife doesn't come in here and strangle me. V is not here today. He's busy with his Thanksgiving Day activities, which is great. But want to thank all of you for tuning in. Was texting V last night and into today, and just going over the massive amount of information that came out, and we just felt compelled. I felt compelled to jump on and share that information. So for those in the U.S. that are celebrating Thanksgiving, enjoy your time with your family, all that kind of great stuff. Eat lots of food, drink, be merry, all that kind of good stuff. Those that are not outside the United States, because we do have an international audience, many things to be thankful for nowadays. So let's just jump into it right now. So let me get my screen up here. You'll have to bear with me because sometimes when I'm flying solo, it's a little bit difficult to manage the controls and the information that's seen. So yesterday was a huge day, right? Yesterday was so pivotal in terms of the information that came out. So let's get this to the screen. So in case you were asleep and you missed it, which I doubt the people tuning in did, but yesterday was just a huge day in Pennsylvania, as Zero Hedge labels it, one hell of a hearing. And even some of the people that were very skeptic at the beginning, we'll have to wait to see what Tucker Carlson does. But I know just the day before, Mike Cernovich had been, very critical of the Giuliani, the attorney team, and he was just saying, hey, it lacked evidence, lacked information. But yesterday was a game changer. Yesterday changed a lot of people's minds. Now, obviously, the lamestream media, it's not going to, but it did in terms of what people's perception of what transpired. So let's jump in, and I'll share a little bit of what Cernovich had to say, and then I'll share some thoughts as well.
Did you watch what I just watched in Pennsylvania? I'm speechless, to be honest. I was lounging around doing, pre-Thanksgiving stuff, and I thought, come on, after this talk of the Kraken, after all this just weeks of kind of like nonsense, or in my view, sort of nonsense, I wasn't really expecting much from the Pennsylvania hearing. I thought, oh, come on, more nonsense. This is going to be all hype. What's the point? Don't really care. And my mouth was just dropping. The evidence that came out. The evidence that came out is startling and deserves a hearing. I mean, it deserves a full hearing. There's a reason Right Side Broadcasting Network, they streamed it, but you couldn't see it. The media doesn't want to talk about it. The Pennsylvania Secretary of State doesn't want to talk about it. They are shook. They are shook. And if I were them, I would be shook too. This is unlike anything that we've ever seen in American history. The witness testimony, credible witnesses, one after the other. There was even that laugh out loud moment where they talked about how many ballot dumps went for Trump and how many ballot dumps went for Biden. And it was something like, I can't remember the exact figures, but it was something like a 10,000 to 1 or something like that. The whole room just laughed, right? It was such a joke. The mathematical probability of this going the way it was going with the vote dumps was such a joke that everyone just laughed. Everyone just laughed. What more could you do, really? And you're not seeing the debunks. Now, I'm going to be interested in how the media and social media deals with this now, right? How do you deal with that hearing? These are credible people. You can't say there was no evidence now. After today's hearing, you cannot say there was no evidence. You can say there's, in fact, credible evidence, but maybe the people are wrong. But you have to rebut the evidence. Today, the burden of proof had changed. The burden of proof before today rested upon the shoulders of the Trump campaign, because that's the reason. The rules of reason, the rules of reason, the rules of logic are that in an argument, if you claim the other side cheated, then you have to prove that claim. You have to present evidence to support your claim. You can't just say, nah, cheater, pumpkin eater, right? You have to say, you cheated. Here's my evidence that I'm presenting.
I'm going to go ahead and stop it right there and bring this up real quick. Just, again, and that's the only thing that really compelled me to jump on this live stream and share this information, was because the media is not going to cover this. I shared it in my social media platforms yesterday, and people were like, why haven't I seen this? Why this is the first time that I'm hearing it. So that's where we need everyone's help. And it's going to take really a grassroots movement. Everyone that's tuning in today to share this information, to share the live streams, to share, go to Zero Hedge and share the information. Now, if you'd missed the full 4 hours of testimony that was given yesterday to the Pennsylvania State Legislature, you can jump over. They covered it in the entirety, and that's Right Side Broadcasting Network. So if you missed it, jump over there, subscribe, share that, so the way we can get this information out. There was a great write-up yesterday on Zero Hedge in regards to this, and you can't dispute, like, to me, this was probably the most compelling information that came out, and that's in regards to this 90-minute spike of votes that came in. And we're going to play that just so you kind of get a little bit of understanding of, why that's so important. So here we go.
Normally, you would expect to see a smooth curve going up, not any big spikes. That's kind of what Greg was talking about, the anomalies of loading and uploading those votes. So that big spike that occurs there is a prime indicator of fraudulent voting.
And that's 604,000 votes in 90 minutes. Is that right?
Correct. This is 337 votes, 337,000 votes in that
In that period of time.
Yes.
And when you look at this entire curve with all these spikes, can you calculate how much of a vote that accounted for Biden and how much for Trump?
Close to 600,000. I think our figures were about 570 some odd thousand that all those spikes represented over time.
For Biden.
Correct.
And how much for Trump?
I think it was a little over 3,200.
How about that? Now, just to go back to your original.
What makes it just so crazy, like, to think about that. So in this time period, that 600,000 votes were registered in spikes that came through, nearly 570,000 of them to Biden and 3,200 Trump. And, that's what Cernovich was laughing about. It's like, it's just the mathematic probability of that happening is just off the charts insane. So this was a huge win yesterday. And it's just, it's great to see this in terms of just some, get people to have faith in our election process and the things that are transpiring right now. Now, that's not the other information that came out. So we had, previously shared in regards to, I think this was yesterday's live stream, that we talked about the former CEO, he may even be still current CEO, Patrick Byrne, who is the founder of Overstock.com. He was on the Pete Santelli show and also had some information again of proof that he has. And again, I didn't watch the full thing, but I'm going to play this portion of it.
Based on what you've seen so far, forensically, do we have enough evidence right now? If you're not an attorney, but if you went and spoke to the judge, you said this election was rigged, it was manipulated. Do you have enough evidence right now?
100%.
100%.
I've had that evidence for 16, 17 days. It's a matter of teaching the lawyers.
Right.
And these lawyers are smart and wonderful. And
right.
I don't work for Sidney or for Rudy or for his mayor. I'm a concerned citizen posted up with a command base.
Yes, sir.
And a bunch of these people getting this. I'm making it available to the press and to the lawyers who want it, is how this is working. So I pay my own way. But yeah, it's 100. I could get in front of a judge and in 20 minutes, if I could bring in some hackers and explain stuff in my own language, there's no honest judge in America wouldn't get it. It's open and shut. The only question at this point is the legal process. And can the legal process, the bad guys are trying to pour cement over this whole election
Right.
and bury it before any of this stuff gets out. But it's open and shut. This happened on a massive scale.
Wow. Wow, that's just significant right there. So again, this really goes on the offensive, which I'm glad to finally see happening. So the multifaceted approach that we've talked about in going after these people, going after the alphabet agencies that try to basically do a coup via electronic theft of election is even more opening. Now we didn't even, that's just the beginning. So yesterday we obviously had that huge event that took place in Pennsylvania, but then yesterday Sidney Powell did deliver on her promise. She did file those lawsuits in Georgia as well as Michigan with, massive suits that were filed. I have them brought up here. So again, I'll post the links later on in the comments. You can go and take a look at these, allegations that are taking place that were filed in court, and numerous things that are just coming out now in regards to the election. Things that were filed, and to understand the magnitude of this. So there's no more that the lamestream media or Tucker Carlson can say, hey, you know what, it's just hogwash. This is conspiracy theory, because that's how they like to label the truth, is conspiracy theory. So this information is coming out, and it's really dynamic. It's pretty awesome. And we know that the information is going to come at us even faster from this point moving forward, which is, again, one of the reasons why I wanted to jump on and share this. Now, that's not the only win. We're not finished winning there. Overnight, also, the Supreme Court did shut down the executive order that the Governor Cuomo, who, gosh, I don't even want to call him a governor anymore just because he's such a tyrant, did overturn. The Supreme Court did block the New York officials from limiting religious gatherings, Orthodox Jews, and restricting to get together in a 5-4 vote. So this was a setback, and I'm glad to see this, because this, to me, is even more signs that patriots are rising. People are rising up against this tyranny. They're starting to assess and understand, what's happening to our country. So these are good signs, and we need your help, people that are tuning in, to share this information. And then the last of information that, obviously everyone's aware of is that President Trump did yesterday pardon Michael Flynn, who, again, Sidney Powell was the lead attorney that was able to overturn that conviction that was, orchestrated and manipulated and everything by the same alphabet agencies in attempt to really disrupt this administration. So that's a huge win, and I think that there's still more to do. I don't know whether they're listening to Rogue or whether they're getting information, but I've noticed that a few people have been commenting and stating things, or advocating and stating some of the things that we've done on this broadcast. In fact, yesterday, Tulsi Gabbard, who, again, mixed, regarding Tulsi and some of the things that she done, I believe her heart's always in the right place. I'll forgive her for endorsing Biden. She probably had to do that because of party lines, whatever. But she has actually filed some legislation and to help. I'm not sure if everyone had a chance to go and to watch the interview that I did with Free Julian Assange, but she's actually, passed whistleblower legislation to allow people like Snowden to Assange to provide commentary under the Espionage Act. But let me let her explain it, because she can explain it a lot better than I can.
Every single one of us as Americans are guaranteed basic fundamental rights and freedoms that are enshrined in our Constitution. But we cannot take these freedoms for granted. I've introduced legislation to stand up for and to protect brave whistleblowers who've come forward to expose illegal actions within our own government or egregious abuses of power, and to reform the Espionage Act to make sure that if a whistleblower is prosecuted under the Espionage Act, that they will have their fair day in court, something that is currently not allowable under the law as it stands today. So first, I introduced HRES 1162 with my colleague, Congressman Matt Gaetz, that very simply calls on our government to drop all charges against Edward Snowden for the actions that he took in the public interest to expose a mass government surveillance program on all Americans that violates our privacy and civil liberties, and that courts deemed illegal more than once. I also introduced HRES 1175 with my colleague, Congressman Tom Massey, which calls for the same action for the government to drop all charges against Julian Assange, who also acted in the public interest as he published information to expose lies and egregious abuses of power in our own government. Last but not least, I introduced a bill, HR 8452, to reform the Espionage Act. Now, Daniel Ellsberg was the first person prosecuted under the 1917 Espionage Act for his act of bravery in releasing the Pentagon Papers to the Washington Post to publish classified documents that exposed the lies that were being told to the American people about what was really happening in the Vietnam War. Now, Snowden, Assange, and others are being prosecuted under this same Espionage Act. But as Daniel Ellsberg knows well, under current law, none of them are allowed to speak to the intent of their actions in court. My bill changes that. I'm urging my colleagues in Congress to stand up for the American people, to stand up for our freedoms, and pass this critical legislation now.
Huge. And again, we know that probably there's not going to be the appetite in DC for this, right? So that's where I think, again, with the president's actions to pardon Michael Flynn, that we still need to be taking to Twitter, to the social platforms, to hashtag free Assange, hashtag, free Snowden. Let's bring these two guys in. Let's let them demonstrate and speak to the American people about the criminality, the things that have occurred. When truth is the enemy of the state, then the state needs to be exposed for their crimes, for the fraud. And these people, to me, Snowden and Chelsea Manning, Julian Assange, they're heroes, in my opinion. They're patriots. They have helped to, these alphabet agencies that are really subduing the U.S. Constitution, that are taking away our freedoms and our liberties. This is huge. This is massive. So I think that you can, by this live stream, you can see how much information just in the past 12 to 24 hours just came out. Now, just to let everyone know, to give everyone an update on Rogue, we will be doing live streams tomorrow on Friday, and we'll be having at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Velas will be joining us in Rogue Mornings, and I'm fairly certain, I'm just waiting for confirmation, but we should be having Harley Schlanger hanging with Harley at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Friday. And then leading into the weekend, and you can set your calendars for this. And this is why it's so important in the work that we do here with Rogue and the association, the organizations that we work with, LaRouche PAC, the Schiller Institute. On Saturday, they are having an international investigative commission on truth in elections. And this is going to be Saturday, November the 28th from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And they're going to have a panel of very distinguished people. William Binney, who almost everyone is probably very familiar with. He's the former technical director at the NSA. Also, Richard Colonel Black. Colonel Black's going to be on as well as hopefully I think they're going to try to get some of the attorneys who are involved in the fraud charges in Michigan, Pennsylvania, et cetera, as well as several other guests are going to be participating in this. So lots of exciting things to come in the few days ahead. Just want to jump on and again, thank you for subscribing to Rogue News. Really appreciate everyone's support. Please share this live stream, this information. Lots of good stuff coming out. And again, we couldn't do this without you. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your families, and stay safe. And we'll be back tomorrow on Friday. Take care, everyone. God bless.